they don't seem especially hardy. Like, right? Like, it seems like you could just, it's
Hardy.
almost like the creatures in...
That was an amazing word.
Sorry.
Not a very hardy alien.
Like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
I like my aliens hardy.
I like mine hardy.
My hearty ass chunky soup with potatoes in there.
Hello, welcome to Survivor's Ed, How to Not Die First in a Horror Movie. I'm Chris.
I'm Tawny.
I'm Miles.
And we are two blacks and a Mexican here to swing away at a movie that we all enjoy.
God, I wish I'd have brought my bat over.
Of course, yeah.
Why didn't I not bring my bat? I don't know.
Nobody told you to swing away in a dream. Or memory or something. I don't know. We'll talk about that. This is Survivor's Ed. This is a podcast where we talk about horror movies that we love. We talk about specifically the people who look like us in those movies and how they do in them. Typically, they do not do well, but sometimes they do. And so we're examining our roles in those movies and how to survive them, or at least how to not die first. So this week we are talking about the work of a filmmaker I have long wanted to talk about. And we're doing it through what I think is probably my second or third favorite of his movies. So I guess a middling movie, but I really like it. We are talking about Signs, directed by M. Night Shyamalan, released in 2002, starring Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, a Culkin kid,
an episode,
and Abigail Breslin.
That's the most fucking accurate. Mel Gibson.
I never realized that Abigail Breslin was in this.
Yeah.
I when I watched it this time, I was like, oh, that's the Zombieland girl.
Zombieland. Yep.
Yeah, I love her. I love her in this too.
Yeah. She's like a little tiny Kirsten Dunst.
She's so just like her instincts are so good.
And the greatest Culkin of all time. For me.
Of course, yeah. Or at least the second or third
this is
greatest.
Rory, right?
This is Rory.
Literally, he's a good actor.
Literally
he's
the other
solid.
Culkin.
They're all pretty damn good.
Oh,
the Culkins
Kieran is like.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen Succession?
Kieran's like
up there.
He's great.
For sure.
He's great.
Yeah.
All right, so.
Like, don't fuck
about
with
Signs.
Kieran.
Like,
so
that's all our love for the Culkins.
Already, yeah, we already. So let me give the breakdown. So if you haven't seen it, please do. But Signs is an alien invasion movie that is very heavily layered with a theme of faith, and yeah, that's kind of it. There's crop circles. And there's aliens, and it's got a lot of suspense, a surprising amount of just really good tension, really cool kind of environment, very Hitchcockian, and just it's a very divisive movie. I think it's probably the first truly divisive movie that people think of, or that came along in his filmography. But all three of us really like it, so we're gonna talk about it. What's the situation in Signs, y'all?
We got some aliens. We got crop circles popping up. We got aliens who are, there is a genius in the presentation of the aliens in this movie. Like, I think there's the scene where Mel Gibson where Mel Gibson is in the corn and he sees the leg, and there's the scene at the birthday party where Joaquin Phoenix is in the closet going, "Vamonos, children," which is
why is he saying that?
Because it's
Brazil. They don't even speak Spanish. But he's clueless.
Yeah, there's a brilliance to that too.
But like there's a fucking brilliance to the way this alien is presented, and I think that it's really what makes Like, whatever flaws this movie has, like, they show us a leg. Like, we see a literal, like, green leg. And we're like, oh my God! Like, and we are people who have sat through The Exorcist and all of the Freddy Krueger movies. And we see an alien's leg. And it totally, like, jars us to the core. It's beautifully done. That scene where the scene at the birthday party when they first show the alien and he's like in that weird
messed everybody
like
up.
I'm walking across the frame.
Yeah.
That messed everybody up. Like that shit fucked with our heads for like we were all like ah, and we've all seen. And the brilliant part is that we've all at this point like seen worse shit like we've seen, you know, way worse shit than that in movies, but for whatever reason that presentation it completely sucks you in. Like you really are imagining like being a human being, like going through this experience of like this alien, you know, these aliens showing up. So the field with the leg and then the moving, it's like moving and you just see like the fuzzy.
And then the rooftop
and it's
scene
like so
too,
fuzzy.
the one on the roof.
And the rooftop scene. And well, let's come back to the rooftop scene because I have issues with the idea that they were so easily beaten despite being able to jump on roofs. Like
that is like an interesting thing about these aliens is like they seem, I mean it's I guess as like people we just assume aliens are more intelligent life than we are because they've mastered the ability of like intergalactic travel. Like I would just suspect that you guys are more intelligent, and they don't seem that tough either. They seem kind of fragile. Like at the end of the day, they're not extremely imposing. I mean, the one that we continuously see is maybe tall. That's the main thing that they say about it. But and they do have like claws and stuff like that, but they're not extremely vicious or I don't know if they rabbits. Even seem. Yeah, they don't
they're
even
fast
seem...
and jumpy with claws, but
exactly they're evasive, but they're not necessarily unbeatable.
They don't seem especially hardy. Like, right? Like, it seems like you could just... It's almost like the creatures in...
That was an amazing word.
Sorry.
Not a very hardy alien.
Like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
I like my aliens hardy.
I like mine hardy.
My hardy-ass chunky soup with potatoes in there.
But to piggyback off of what you're saying, Tawny, like... That was the thing that I feel like is like you said, this is a flawed movie. Everybody knows that. There's probably no point in even saying that. But the brilliance of it is what you don't see. I think that's what makes this film masterful. And then when you finally see it, I think that's why we're all let down because it was done so well by us using our own imagination. Just seeing a foot completely, like just seeing that scene, even the scene where he goes to M. Night, like what was his name in the movie? I don't even remember his name in the movie.
Ray Reddy. Ray Reddy.
When they go to his he goes to his house and the first time he goes under, he puts the knife under. I'm like my heart. The first time I saw that, my heart was beating fast as hell
crazy.
Because the tension is incredible right there, and then he walks away and you're like, okay, whatever. And then when he goes back, it's shot kind of weird because it's like, I don't know what they did. It's like slow motion or something.
And I'm like, you guys are so much better at noticing the shots than I am. Like, I'm just like, oh, this is how I feel about this scene. But like this time around, well, I have feelings about movies. This time around, I was like, look at these tight shots. Like, you can't see anything. Like, all you see is a certain like a tiny perspective.
That's a good shot. Like that, just seeing the room under the door.
There's so much of it like that.
That's a great shot. Like, and the terror of the sound that it makes, like when he cuts the hand, and it, again, it's done so well, it's crafted so well where you just only see body parts. And I think that's the horrifying thing is like I don't even need to see the entire creature. Just seeing foreign body parts that I've never seen before is creepy. Yeah. Is completely like off. It's just unsettling without even seeing the whole thing.
And to be fair, like I think, you know, the ending scene gets a lot of criticism for like showing the creature, but it's like I feel like there was some pressure to show the creature, and he still really, there was like this definite move to like not show the creature, like even though we were seeing it,
you see it through
like
reflections,
it's very much like silhouetted.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like silhouetted. It's more of an outline than anything. Like, and you sort of see the response. You see like the weird camouflage thing, but like I still feel I feel like they tried really hard to not show the creature, and I really wish that they like there wouldn't have been as much pressure, because it's so wonderful like watching the movie with just these like tiny impressions and your imagination filling in the gaps horrifically for these creatures. Like the creature presentation in this movie is fantastic, and it again, if it falls apart maybe in the end, it's because I think of like studio shit. Like I don't think that was something that, you know, necessarily the creator would want to have done.
I agree. I mean, so here's my thing about it. I really like, I agree with everything y'all are saying about the presentation of the aliens and everything. I mean, and everything just pushes us past what we expect. I think that's what really works. It's like, up to a certain point, you've only seen legs, you've only seen the silhouette, and then all of a sudden, that's why that scene where he's watching the news is so effective, is because you don't expect to just see a whole just walk out here like what's up?
Yeah. A whole ass asparagus alien.
It's like oh, and it gets you off guard. And the same thing is true of the pantry scene. It's just like, you think it's gonna sort of tease you in some way, and then it's just, you straight up see this hand come out at you. And I think that was partially the intent in the scene in the cellar with the hand and the like the little chute or whatever that grabs the son. Like
when it's like coming over, it just
so
comes over
effective.
A little bit.
And even the scenes leading up to, like when they're making their way to the cellar, when they're boarding up the windows and they're like, oh, they're on the roof. Like there's like serious tension there. It's like really well, like you feel it, you know. I watched this with my kids because and they were so freaked out by the movie, including the end scene. And like, I think the thing about that scene at the end is that it to me is even more like, it leans into the Hitchcockness of it, because it reminds me of the first time I saw Psycho. The first time I saw Psycho, it had been like, you know, it was Psycho, you know, this classic movie. And I remember being sort of feeling the tension throughout most of that movie and most of the kind of weirdness of what was going on and all that. And then the ending scene where you're revealed, you know, who the killer is. Yeah. I remember being like, okay. I mean, because of the presentation of it was kind of comical to me. Like, it was just like, oh, okay, you know, and I'm trying not to spoil Psycho for some reason, but like, I don't know.
Get out of here. If you ain't seen that shit, get out of here, man. It's like after a certain period of time, it's like, listen, you know, we get to talk about
here's it. My thing.
Limitations is
here's my thing. I'm like, we're not talking. This episode's not about Psycho, so I'm like, I won't presume that you've seen it, but the ending has a reveal. And that reveal is similar to me, of being sort of underwhelmed. Kind of the knowledge of what was happening was interesting, but the actual presentation of it was underwhelming to me, and only because I was just,
when it finally when it finally was like revealed in its full,
I was just like,
whatever.
Oh, okay.
But it's like almost like of course it's underwhelming because. Like, the mystery of it was so much what was compelling about it. Like, the mystery, like the unknown quality, the like, oh my God, what the fuck is that? Yeah. Like, is completely like,
it's gone.
And I don't like it. It's like, I don't know what drove that decision, or like, I don't, you know, but I don't know if there was how could you reveal something that's been so effective as a mystery and have it be satisfying?
Well, I think also with that scene, it's not just that the alien creature design, when you see it fully, it's underwhelming. I think there's a number of things happening in that scene that make the ending stupid. Like, specifically Swing Away Meryl. Like, this is all a culmination of things happening to make the end just a dumb ending. It's like, well, that's stupid. that, you know, all of these things happen. And even I think it's cute that, you know, the daughter, she's cute as hell, this whole movie, where she doesn't want to drink the water and there's something in it. Like, I think that's adorable. And it's obvious, like, what's happening, that's going to be the plight of the aliens is not when I first saw it, but I mean, like, when you look at it now, it's like, okay, yeah, it's always the water or something stupid like that. And even just that, I think the problem with that scene is there's so many things we're learning right there in that moment, and it's all stupid. Like, the graphics, like, don't hold up. The CGI doesn't hold up. It just doesn't look good. We got Swing Away Meryl. She's something that his wife said randomly that when she was dying that comes back now, which is stupid.
That's the whole point, Miles.
It's stupid though. I mean, I get that, but it's stupid. Like, we can all agree that the allegory in this film is dumb. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, and I get it. Like,
but that's what allegory is. Like,
it doesn't have to be stupid though. Like, it's just, you know.
It kind of does. It kind of does. Like, allegory simplifies things, right? It takes ideas and, like, almost, like, funnels them down to this, like, here's this thing that stands for this, and here's this thing that like, and I think that's what, it's fascinating because we three, who are people who like good movies and who have been known to have good taste at times, like, are all like, I love this fucking stupid ass movie. Like, all of us have this response to this movie, and it's because of the power of the allegory, like, of just being like, I'm just gonna buy this. Like, I'm just gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy it. Like, I'm gonna be invested in it, and however it bears out at the end, if I don't agree with it, like, I don't have to agree with it. But I'm bought into it as somebody who's enjoying this story.
And that's why we enjoy this movie. Yeah. Like, but I'm just saying that I think that's why that final scene doesn't work for a number of reasons. Is because there's a couple of things that are being revealed all at once, and all of those things hitting you at once. You're like, that's it. That's what this is. You know, this is all that's happening, and it's like, well, that's. Okay, not only does the alien look fucking ridiculous, but that's dumb as hell, like, as well.
So angry.
It's all of those things that make it, like, silly, that it's like, and it's like, there's things that he says throughout the movie where, you know, that talks about coincidence. Why can't I say that name right now? Word right now.
Twinkie Dinks.
Right, Twinkie Dinks. He said, I mean, he talks about that, like, basically everything happens for a reason. Like, his son has asthma for a reason. Right. His wife died for this reason, and she said what she said to save them from the aliens in the future. Like, it's when you think about all of it, when they reveal it, it's like, what? Like, yeah. No,
right, exactly. Like, if you even push a little bit past, ridiculous. Like, the surface meaning, it's just like, okay, what about fucking people who have cancer who, like, are in the hospital and can't evade the alien? Like, there's no, it falls apart.
The guy that believes in God needed his faith tested so that he could believe in God. Like,
right. As like, an allegory. It only works as an allegory. It only works as an allegory. Yeah. But it works wonderfully as one.
You know what
and it's completely satisfying to watch.
You know what I think is funny is that, well, it's not funny, but, like, so his wife dying makes him lose his faith. Like, I promise it's not the worst thing ever. But his wife dying makes him lose his faith. Okay, cool. Well, not cool, but that makes you lose your faith or whatever. Wouldn't seeing aliens make you lose your faith, like, in what you believe more than, like?
Well, he did though. Like, I mean, I think that was consistent, because even when the aliens started coming,
but the aliens gave him his faith. Back,
he lost his, like, he was. I think when did he regain faith? It was probably, like, right in that moment.
It was when they, like, after he had already totally given up, and, like, when I think the alien attacked Morgan in the cellar.
in the basement,
Like, I think
that's when he gets it back.
and he woke up, and that's when Meryl was like,
and he's talking him through. He's talking him through his asthma.
I'm just talking about the existence of aliens. Pretty much kerplunks your entire belief system.
He has the conversation with Meryl after the aliens have been revealed, where he basically says he doesn't believe. He doesn't believe in a higher power that's like benevolent, right? Like he doesn't, like, he's lost his faith that God
in
is on his side.
the idea that somebody's looking out for him. Yeah.
Well, he says that before though, because he says it when they're on the couch and they have that conversation. Yeah. So I think his wife, that's what I'm saying, his wife dying, him losing his wife is the thing that makes him angry at God. Like he's frustrated with God to where he doesn't believe there's anybody here to take care of us, which is strange to me that someone who's a pastor who understands that people can die, and she wasn't gonna live forever, she died tragically, but that people die, that would make you lose your faith in the creator, and aliens existing doesn't make you like question everything that you've been taught your whole life. Like that would make me be like, oh damn, well yeah, I guess we don't know. Like it's like a person dying is normal. Like, I mean, that happens. Even freak accidents happen. But aliens, like, damn, that would make me question everything right there. Like,
let's recalibrate.
Yeah. Like, what?
I do think he doubled down on that belief when the aliens showed up. He didn't shift back until I think that cellar moment. He was spiraling throughout that whole thing. The one more thing I want to say about, like, just in general about the movie that I really enjoyed that we haven't talked about yet is the humor. Like the tinfoil hats, like all these little scenes where like
there are so many little moments of
weird humor. The army recruitment place.
It's just like the weirdness.
Army recruitment place.
The army, that fucking maniac with gorgeous women licking your toes.
What?
I'm like,
Yeah.
what the fuck
He's
are
so
you
crazy,
talking about?
so weird. Yeah, he's so off-putting.
And he looks like this the whole time, and I'm just like,
and he had like, and he knew a weird amount of statistics about like Meryl. Like, why do you know so much about this dude?
Yeah.
Like random dude.
Okay, so I've seen this movie 10 million times. Like, this is, again, like, I'm not even going to try to pretend that I don't love it, and like that I don't watch it consistently, and that I haven't talked about it at length with like my best friend, and like until like about yesterday, I never noticed that the guy they're like Lionel Pritchard and the Wolferson brothers or whatever. I'm like, Lion and the Wolves. Like, are we not even gonna try?
It's so funny, man. Heavy-handed. We just gonna pour this. We gonna pour this gravy on everything.
Pour it on. Okay. So there's that. But like, so stupid. Lionel Pritchard and the Wolverson brother. Lion and the Wolves. Ugh. Okay.
It's just such a funny. That's like a placeholder name. Like,
so
I feel like he was just sitting there, like,
totally.
Hey, pass me
Like,
some
you
of
didn't
that
even
allegory.
go over
Pass me
this.
some of the metaphors
You
over
didn't even
there.
go over this with some proofreaders.
Man.
There was no proofreading.
so funny.
But like, okay, so he's in the fucking office, and Lionel Pritchard's in there. Do you remember that?
I never
And he's
noticed
like,
that was him
Meryl
until
fucking
now. Yeah.
I never noticed. That's Michael Showalter. Do you guys know who Michael
I know that
Showalter
name.
is? He's like, if you guys are fans of Wet Hot American Summer and all that whole franchise, it's like one of my favorite fucking shits in the whole world, like the Wet Hot American Summer franchise. But I finally noticed that it was Michael Showalter, and I felt like, oh my god, I got something else out of watching it this time.
Yeah, that was the first time that I like noticed that, like, well, not him, but just noticed that too.
It's a weird scene.
It's such a random scene.
And then the way
that
he flexes on him.
Yeah, he like punks him before he
So
like
weird.
walks out or whatever. Like, it's like that's like hilarious.
there are these weird, and like, I don't know what this is, and I've been trying to sort of place it or like describe it, and I'm like, is it like a Hitchcock, like, is it an attempt at like some sort of weird Hitchcockian, like, composition? But there's a couple scenes in this movie, and one of the ones that sticks out is when Cherry Jones, who is marvelous, like, is a marvelous actress, the police. I can't even remember her name in the movie. But when she first shows up and she's like, there's this old lady and she was spitting.
Oh,
just spitting.
And
it's
she
the
must
weirdest
have been
scene.
sick too, cause
she must have been sick. I won't eat for a week. It's so bizarrely wooden. Like there's no dynamism, like there's no exchange. It's like she's supposed to be there in the hallway delivering these lines in this way that falls like a brick. And like I don't know, like what is that
that's
about?
A Shyamalan
like is
thing.
that purposeful?
He does that a lot.
Yeah.
No,
it is,
he has
right?
like weird. There's always weird quirks to like and like. I think there might be a direction he's giving around like people delivering lines that way, because there's like a lot of scenes like that in the worst of his filmography. But it also shows up in like even like Unbreakable and stuff like that.
I was about to say Unbreakable is really heavy to me with that, like
deadpan kind of.
Yep.
Just dead, like
even
Mel
Gibson's performance in this a lot is very dead. Like he's like his performance is kind of the same like throughout the entire movie, with the exception of like quite a few parts. He pretty much plays it pretty. I don't know if that was his choice or if that was a directorial thing, but.
There's something almost like it just reminds me a little bit of like David Lynch, like where you're watching the scene and it makes you uncomfortable because you can tell the actor's uncomfortable, or like there's like some sort of like there's some element of uncomfortableness that like you can't ignore. And it's just like for sure that first scene with her, like I remember being like, am I supposed to laugh? Like, as an audience member, like, watching that scene, she was just spitting, and I swear she had a cold. I won't eat for a week. And I'm like, what? Like, what?
It's such a random, thing. And I also, like, guess you could chalk that up to, like, just, like, small town, like, sort of behavior, too. Is like...
He might have even just said, like, hey, make up a story about something that sounds weird. You know, like...
yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And I don't even know if he did that. I was listening to something they were talking about M. Night as a director and the way he is with his script, where he doesn't like people to ad-lib things, and if they do, they have to justify it to him in order for it to be allowed. That sounds
super fun.
Yeah, like they have to justify because he does not like you to deviate from what he wrote or something like that. It's something to that degree. So I even doubt that it probably is something that he wrote. Like, and even if I don't know, like I don't know if you guys saw The Visit, but if you did, there's like a lot of obnoxious like
freestyle rapping.
Yeah. And he wrote all of that. Like M. Night wrote all of those raps, like, and they're not good,
right?
Like, on purpose though, I guess, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he thinks they were good. I don't know, but like, it's hard to really tell. Like
M. Night being like bars.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's hard to really. It's hard for me to really get a grasp on like M. Night, because he seems to have like a lot of hubris, like where he thinks like he's doing something, but he's not at all. Like we see that it's very far. We enjoy it because it's good entertainment, but I don't think that he's doing what it looks like to him that he's doing. Like, it's not as smart as he thinks it is a lot of times. It's not bad necessarily. It's just not as high of art that he thinks it is. Like, I think thinks very highly of himself, which you should, but I don't know. He may be in denial a little bit about some of his work as far as like what, it actually is.
There's it's just like there's these weird static, like I think static is the word I'm looking for. Like these scenes where like they're supposed to be like this weird static exposition, and they just like and there's plenty of scenes where that's not the case. Like where it's more fluid, where the action seems more natural. But then like every so often, like you have these weird scenes, like when Mel Gibson goes to M. Night Shyamalan's house, and interacts with him, and you're just like, this is so fucking awkward. Like, this is all uncomfortable. Yeah. There's nothing about this that, like, feels like it's an actual interaction. But he has, there are these moments throughout, there's my cat in the back, sorry. That's Frida. There's these, there's, you know, and as good as so many of the scenes are, where, you know, there's interaction between characters, there are also these, like, weird moments of just, like, woodenness, and, like, just, like, bleh, like, something just, it's almost like somebody just barfed out this scene.
I mean, that scene is weird, too, just because I don't really understand why he called him in that moment, like...
Signs!
Right, I forgot. Yeah, everything means something... Even though it doesn't. So.
That's what he says. He's like, oh, I wrote your number down 6 months ago, and I've been trying to call it all these times.
You know what I like?
And now I'm going to call it.
I like when when he gets that book and their house is like in the book or something. I was like, what the fuck? And they're like dead in the book.
That looks like our house.
That looks like us dead in the book. Like, what? Yeah. It's like, ow.
It's like some type stuff. So I think since we've talked about M. Night for so long, I feel like she should make our transition.
Well, I guess one last thing, like that I guess Tawny you didn't bring up was just the aliens, and I feel like we have to say that. Like,
let's talk about how incompetent the scouting crew that came to Earth and was like, let's go to this planet that's made up of 75% the most deadly thing in the world, possibly to us. And that also, and this is what I just brought up, like, this is so, like, maybe this is just me being, like, a big old nerd who's, like, trying to shit on everything, but, like, the better part of our air is water vapor. Like, if water's deadly to these fucking creatures, which it apparently is, because if it falls on them, it melts their fucking flesh off. Like, how are they not just having their whatever breathing mechanism completely destroyed by just even breathing the air? Like, just the worst scouting crew in their history of Aliens, other than War of the Worlds, where they didn't notice that people got sick before they sent aliens here.
Yeah, oh yeah, Chris, you said you had, like, what is the...
I guess... So I compare these aliens to, like, the crew from Prometheus. So like it's a pretty common sci-fi space exploration movie trope for people to go to unknown planets and then encounter something they've never encountered before, and it's deadly, and they handle it poorly, and everybody dies. And that's kind of what I think we're on the other side of that for these aliens. They're like the crew from Prometheus coming to Earth and getting their stuff wrecked by this new substance.
Like, come on, guys.
That
called water that the fucking planet's made of.
That the planet's made of. It's like if humans landed on an acid planet but didn't know it was acid, and then they landed, or maybe it's a new thing that's not, because I'm presuming water doesn't exist where they're from, so presumably, yeah, like if it did, then it's like
maybe that's why they left.
So these motherfuckers are walking around in fields.
They get there,
like they're breathing.
They start
like, what's the breathing then?
Well, they clearly aren't affected by the water in the air because they're walking around. So
moisture doesn't
more so.
And they were in Brazil. That one was in Brazil. You telling me it wasn't humid as the motherfucker in Brazil? Come on, bro. Stop it, man.
So I'm saying it's not about the aliens. It's about the conceit of their weakness. Like what there's an undefined weakness to water that isn't clearly based on, it's based on like literal physical amounts of water. I don't know. There's an over complexity to, or maybe we're over complexity, with it. But
I mean, I could buy that though, because if you comparing it to Prometheus, they did go there. But to be fair,
and they started messing with stuff.
Prometheus, it was like a parasite that attacked them. That was like killed them. Like it wasn't made. The planet wasn't made up of that. That was something that was just someone else put there,
or made up of something that like was completely alien. Like the fucking shit was still made up of, you know, what's the like schnapps, like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Like it's all the same
and
shit.
they checked the environment before they went to say, okay, someone terraformed here. They're manufacturing oxygen. We can breathe the air here. It's safe. These aliens should have done the very same thing and been like, oh, wait a minute. The atmosphere is 100%, or the surface of this planet is literally entirely water. The thing that, you know, we can't...
The fucking organisms that live here are 75% water.
Unless they just don't know what water is. And if they don't know what water is, then okay, fine. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like, they don't know. I know they don't know what water is for sure. That's my theory. They don't know what it is. It's completely foreign. It's completely new. They've never encountered it before. And it's a possibility that the aliens we saw are not like that. These are like the ones they just like... they sent them out there. They're the get out and go. Hey, go on down there and check it out. Oh, that looks bad.
I mean, it literally is them though. They say it in the movie. They say they just send the weird military guy says they send in the scouts.
The weird military.
And they left them behind.
The guy that looks like this.
Yeah, they left them behind. Okay, all right. I might be on board with you. With you.
These guys, they mean nothing, and it's like, oh, there's some weird stuff down there killing y'all.
That's fair actually, because if they just sending them down there as a reconnaissance type of thing to see if it's safe, and they start dying, they dipped right after that. They was like, oh, we cool, all right.
They're the canaries. Those aliens are the canaries.
Canaries in the coal mine. Yeah. All right. I'll accept that.
They're like, we're not gonna waste our good technology. Just gonna send these.
I ain't parking my parallel parking. Yeah, I'm not getting out my car. Like, man.
All right, we got to pivot. We're almost 40 minutes in. This is where we talk. Oh yeah. This is our section of our show that we call "You Good, Homie," and we check in on our people of color. There's one of them in this movie, and it happens to be Mr. M. Night Shyamalan himself. Is this the first time we've done a movie where the writer-director of the movie is homie?
Yeah, I think so.
And producer.
I think it's particularly funny when they're in the restaurant and they're literally like, there he is. Yeah. That's him. The director.
He looks like a little like rat or something. Like there's something about his expression where he's like...
Yeah. I know.
Like, he's just like...
It's messed up because he's the only person of color. So like... When I first saw the movie, I didn't know. Like, when I first saw this movie, I didn't know who M. Night was. Like I didn't know what he looked like.
Yeah, same.
And so I remember, when they look at him and it's this brown man. I was like, oh, really? So I thought they was just mad racist.
He's like, no, I insisted
There's the
on
darky.
this. And he's so awkward. Like, I was just watching that scene again where he's in the car and he's like, when I first found out that I put your phone number by the phone, and I'm just like, you're the worst actor.
Yeah, he's got like a
time.
tiny voice.
Why are you doing this to your film? You know, and it reminded me, like I said, of like every time Stephen King's in a movie, and I'm like, you don't need to be in this movie, homie. Like, I love you.
At least Hitchcock had the decency to make his cameos really like small and like. Yeah, usually wordless too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like important character to like the main characters, like significant. And what was his name again? I don't even remember his name. Something
Reddy.
Driving McHit kill people or whatever. Yeah, like
Driving kill people.
Like he like I think like the fact that like he's like in there and that's significant to the main plot is like, what are you doing, man?
Like, get it out of here. And that was, this is why I checked out when I went to see The Village. I was like, oh, motherfucker. Like, I gotta watch this guy's reflection in the glass or whatever. Do you remember that whole scene and being like, "What am I supposed to be thrilled by this? Is this supposed to be?"
It's not like cool like a Stan Lee cameo. It's just like, oh well, all right.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, here's the director in this movie now, and I'm like, no, like nobody needs this at all. And I'm like, why do it? It just distracts from the whole rest of
everything. It takes you out of the movie.
It does. It's needless. Like it's like, okay, well, his character is not even important. That scene I think is important where he goes to discover that, because up until that point, I'm not sure. I think that's the point where like Mel Gibson's character actually is like, okay, this is for real. Like, yeah, even though I know he's scared of what he saw in the corn, but I don't know if he's fully on board with it until he goes to his house and it actually comes after him to attack him, because that's when he goes back home and he's like sitting there and he's like asking him what's in the book, and he's like, that's the most ridiculous thing that I've heard. What else does it say? Like, but there's also like when he comes back, he's like, I had the distinct impression it wanted to harm me. I'm like, oh fuck, really? No shit, shit, you had that impression? Like, was that before or after you cut off its fingers?
See, I think that was part of the humor, like this weird like. That's why I think the deadpan stuff is intentional. Like, I think it's meant to be humorous in the sense
comedy in this is I think it's dark comedy, like, because they're clearly saying stuff that, like, even Meryl, like when they're in the car, I just laughed, like when they first introduce like the baby monitor, and like he does this whole spiel about like who the nerds that are into it, and then he gets out of the car and like 2 seconds later he's like, wait a minute, we're gonna lose the signal. Like, wait, what?
The nerds are right.
Like, I think all of that stuff is intentionally supposed to be like.
That part is for sure. Like,
but even more stuff like that they say that is like, this has to be intentionally funny. Like, there's no way this is not supposed to be laughed at right now.
There's definitely humor woven in, and I think that's one of the things that makes this like, just like a film that people love to rewatch, and like not just like, and all of us and it's funny, like all of us are like, I fucking love that movie. I know it's fucked up and imperfect, but like all of us have that feeling of like, I love that movie, and other people I know are like, I fucking love that movie, like it's despite whatever its imperfections are. It's good. It like the acting is like, every single actor is awesome. I have super Joaquin Phoenix thirst in this movie.
So random.
But the children are also great. And like bad child actors can really fuck shit up for me. And I'm like super grateful for how good both of these kids are.
The only actor that is not good is M. Night.
So let's talk about Ray.
He's the only one.
Do we think he made it?
I think he did. Like, he had to have made it if he was posted up by the water. Like, I mean, he gave
presumably,
I mean, like that's interesting. Is like, and when you first watched this movie, I know when I first watched it, I didn't think much about him making that distinction that they don't seem to like the water, and I'm gonna go there. Like, I'm just gonna try it. And I don't know how many other people came to that same conclusion.
Well, Morgan says, like, that sounds made up.
Yeah,
like, Morgan, he says that, like, in the next scene, and you're just like,
well, I guess it's made up,
you know, like.
Because he seems to have, because that book is so stupid, too, because, like, it has all the
answers.
Like, tells them all the answers. Again,
that's such a trope. That's such a horror movie trope. They find a book. And that's how they learn everything.
Yeah, but I think that maybe more people, like I said, came to that conclusion and went by water. And I'm sure, I think he survived. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't, we don't find out, and it's not really important. But
there's a horrible moment where I was like, oh shit, that's pretty, where like they're listening. It's the morning after, and they've survived. And they're like, in 3 like Middle Eastern cities, the people have found primitive ways to defeat them, and I'm like, really? You had to say primitive? Like, primitive had to be part of the reporting, as opposed to the native, like the people who lived in these cities found ways to defeat them. They're like, primitive ways to beat back the invaders. And I'm like, are really primitive?
What is
like,
primitive?
What does that mean?
Isn't what Meryl did
like
primitive? Like, you just beat him up.
Primitive, absolutely.
Beat him up. Like,
just fucking hit him really hard with the bat.
That's pretty primitive. Yeah. I thought you were gonna mention like when he was when Meryl was giving him the recap, and he was just like, a lot of people died. Like, I remember thinking like, why? Why did so many people die?
And that was the other thing too. It's like, signs like, oh, God was with us. I was like, what about those fucking poor other people that got dragged off and killed by the aliens?
God wasn't with them,
Tawny.
Like, obviously.
Wasn't with them.
I know, and that's why I think the movie works as an allegory, and pretty much that's it.
No,
and maybe
it's
that's
like,
but the thing with Ray, I don't know we don't know what his like religious belief was. Like, that wasn't. Maybe he certainly feels some type of way about having killed someone's wife, so he has some sort of contrition, but I don't know if he's necessarily a churchgoer. I don't know, but I'm betting that he lived, because if there's no reason to think that
he was crafty enough to trap one in his pantry. I mean,
exactly. Like, I don't know how he did that, but he did,
and he fucking figured out that they didn't like water. Right. That's like an important piece of information, and he was the one to give it, right?
And I don't even know how he came to that conclusion. Like, we don't know.
That's an M. Night thing. His cameos tend to serve in providing an important piece of information. In Unbreakable, he was the guy who he first realized he could see what people were carrying when he touched them. It was M. Night. In The Village, he's there for the reveal at the end of that, of what the world looks like. In Lady in the Water, he's literally the key to everything, the writer. Which I was done. I was like, bro, really? Come on. This is just
like,
we don't need to talk about that one. Yeah.
But, so he's got this thing of wanting to be tied to the opening of the world, or to the key, the key to everything. But so there, Ray, I'd say homie did pretty well, considering he was the key to everything. Well. He likely lived. He trapped an alien in his pantry, figured out the water thing.
An alien.
And he gave us some important information about how to defeat the alien horde.
And his killing of the wife was very important. So
it actually was, because had he not, everything happens for a reason. Had he not killed the wife, then Mel Gibson wouldn't have lost his faith, which would not have led to them figuring out this whole thing and swinging away and defeating the aliens at the end. So it's all because of Ray that they were even able.
If he hadn't killed the wife, the alien would have done it. So,
Yeah. And he trapped, and he knew that they couldn't, for some reason, open doors. He trapped it.
Especially those ones with the little thing that you pull out.
Ones, like the tricky doors.
See, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. They were like the peons, because like they couldn't open doors.
Raptors open doors in Jurassic Park. Dinosaurs open doors, man.
These motherfuckers are on roofs.
Come on, man.
In the beginning of the movie, like jumping on roofs. Like jumping on fucking roofs, like
all
running
their
around,
dexterity is
like,
in their legs,
solving problems, coming in through coal chutes.
They only do leg day, like they don't do any type of upper body work.
They're like the little guys in Among Us. They just that's their thing.
So it's like, I would think they would be more sophisticated to be able to make it out of a closed door.
One would say.
No, these are like these are the dumb guys they sent. They're like, these are the recon. They're like, just go find out, go over there and just die, so that we can find out what kills you.
So I think our rule's pretty obvious at this point. If you want to be okay to survive signs, what do you need to do?
Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. I'm safe, y'all.
Drink more water. Listen to Mick Jenkins. Yeah, like Drink more
Keep
water.
your body hydrated.
It makes sense. It's good. Like being hydrated is like
a good
thing,
rule.
Right?
One thing I have to say about M. Night, and just to sort of as we wrap things up, my thing about him that I was really surprised. I watched some interviews with him after when Glass was about to come out, I think, and he's really self-aware, more so than I ever would have thought he was. Like, he's very aware of how he comes off. He's very aware of kind of the stigmas attached to him. And that's probably come over the years. I don't know how aware he was back when he made this movie. But that awareness makes me think that a lot of that weird humor is intentional. I think he has a weird sense of humor. And the dry delivery of random things. Like, I think about The Happening and how he had that dude just talking about hot dogs for a weird amount of time. And like,
yeah,
it's like, I think to him, it's just like, he's just like, I could see him just based on what I saw in his personality, him just being like, what if this dude's just obsessed with hot dogs? Because like, it just feels like almost like not a power trip, but like, hey, because he's been fortunate in the sense, I won't say fortunate, he's been smart in the sense of being able to control his own creations pretty. I mean, he's like George Lucas. He's an auteur, and he's able to have a lot of creative power. And with that kind of creative power, you're able to make weird decisions and kind of relish in it. And I think that's part of it too, is because Sixth Sense wasn't quite like that. Like, it's like it slowly got weirder and weirder. And so that's my thinking about him. I think he's more cognizant of his weirdness than we realize.
Yeah, no, I totally buy that. Like, and I almost like, and that's almost like what I'm saying is like, not that those scenes don't make sense, but that I don't personally understand them, or like I maybe don't like there's something happening that I'm not aware of.
It's not just you.
No, it's a
great deal of us.
I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what's happening?
I do think he gets unfairly like kind of destroyed as a director. I think there's far worse directors than M. Night. Like, I actually think he's really good at some things like that. Like, specifically in this movie, like the way that he set up a lot of things in this movie, I thought was done well. I had a good time watching this movie. Every time I watch it, I have a good time watching this movie. So
absolutely,
I think he's good at. He has these things that he's good at, and I mean, he's had some bombs that didn't work, like, you know, and he's had some that I think are pretty good. Like this one, this one is actually one of my favorite. I'm not a huge like Sixth Sense fan. Like, I think it's good. Like, but I don't love it. Like, no, it's like, not highly regarded for me. I think it's a solid film. And
I think one of the reasons, that we picked this movie, or like we were all doing it, is that we were all like, I love this movie. I'll watch it 1,000,000 times. And I think that says something. And what it is that it says, like, there's a magic about it. And watching it again, like even watching it in the last couple of days, like the end, Swing Away Meryl, as much as I'm like making fun of that, like those beautiful tight shots of like the little glimpses of what's happening, like the baseball bat broken on the floor, the water spilled. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It gave me like
we didn't mention the scores.
It's beautifully executed, and I'm just like, I have chills, and there's nothing that can stop me from having chills, even though I know that there are flaws with this movie. It's gorgeous in those, especially in those scenes. You're so invested in that family. Mel Gibson, despite all his fucking crazy shit, is brilliant. Joaquin Phoenix is brilliant. Those fucking kids are great. Like, every single little moment, like the Swing Away Meryl, and you're like right on his face, and Joaquin Phoenix goes, you know, and you don't even see the bat, like it's a beautiful camera, like the camera work is fucking just like, it's so tight, and it's so like just this one little moment, and like you don't even like, you see Joaquin Phoenix go like, he goes Swing Away Meryl, and he's like,
my bat, and
you don't even see the bat, like you don't even see it yet until the next shot. And then you see the bat, and you see him, and then you see him crunching down on the bat. And that the
Feels
whole
epic.
scene, like everything,
It's cinematic. It's very cinematic.
Just chills.
Like,
and I'm just like, however imperfect this movie is.
Yeah, it works.
It's earned too.
It works.
It's earned.
Yeah, it is. And the soundtrack is great in that moment too. I've always liked the score to it. It feels Hitchcockian too, like the score.
Who's his
It
guy?
does,
He has the
absolutely.
same guy every movie. James something.
I love it. And it's specifically like epic in that moment too, where they're looking around at all. I do like that shot when they look at all the cups and in the house and they're looking around. I love that shot. I just think it's a dope shot.
It's beautiful.
It's very cinematic. Like, even though what's happening is like, okay, yeah, this is not what I expected. It's a cinematic scene for sure. Like, and it works. Like, it to me, again, like I said, this was not the worst thing ever to me. Like, I do understand it not being satisfying, but whatever is satisfying, I don't know when.
I think this is, for me, just like, as I'm not religious or whatever, but like that, I think an allegory, allegories work for me. And so for me, this is a completely satisfying, like, film watching experience, right? Like, you settle into it. You're like, here are these, things that mean things. And I've watched it with my kids, right? Like, here's the dad, here's the kid, here's the uncle, like, here's what all of this means. And that's enough. And I think it's wonderful. Like, I think there are, like, I can't even think of that many movies that are this satisfying. Like, that when I still watch them and I'm watching those ending scenes of and all the, like, the glass and the fucking bat on the floor and, like, Swing Away Meryl, like, it's all just so satisfying. And I think, like, that's one of the reasons we picked this movie, is because it, like, speaks to some weird, like, thing.
Because it's resolute.
About,
like, everything is wrapped up by the end. He gets his faith back, like, at the last shot.
It's a storybook
like,
ending.
The aliens, the aliens are gone. Like, everything is, and I think as people, we like that. We don't like things that tell us, because in real life we don't get answers, so we look to film to give us answers. And I don't want to not get answers.
And a lot of more modern movies don't do that. Like,
we're
moving into this place of that being the earnestness is no longer.
It's more artistic to not know what the answer is now, where I'm not going to tell you necessarily, or you decide.
Right.
And when that's too much like real life, when you're trying to escape real life. And and in a movie, it's like, well, yeah, just tell me what happens. And people find comfort in that, like, knowing, oh yeah, everybody was okay, or everybody wasn't okay, but okay, I know what happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing. It's like, oh, the family all made it, and then you hear on the radio, it's like, lots of people died.
No.
And I'm
but
like,
they didn't.
God didn't care about them, or like what happened there?
That's the problem with tying in the
the wife died, so like their deaths probably serve some future revelation.
I just needed one more, like, mid-credit scene of, like, Ray standing by, like, the water, like, looking at, like oh, okay, yeah, he was right. Yeah. That would have been, like, made it even more. That would have, like completed everything. Like, oh, he did, man. He was right. Yeah, he made it, and he found out that he was right. Cool.
That's what's up. Right, that's what's up.
I'm happy.
James Newton Howard, that's his composer. He uses him in a lot of movies, but he always has pretty good scores.
Really good here.
Yeah.
Love this. I love this score.
But
especially
that opening credit sequence, like,
oh yeah,
it just hits you. Yeah. Like, I love it.
It's super, no, for sure.
All right, so that's it. We did Signs. I don't know how you feel about Signs, but we feel good about it. Miles kind of went in on it for a little while, but generally, we feel good
gotta
about
say that
Signs.
Stuff, man.
No, we gotta speak.
But
the truth.
I'm like, didn't Miles be like, we're gonna do Signs this week? Wasn't that Miles?
Yeah, Miles was on it. He was like, Signs.
Because I like this movie. It's really good. Like, I gotta keep it. I gotta keep it a buck.
Gotta keep it a buck.
No, for sure.
No, this was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this show, please rate us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. If you're watching us on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment, subscribe. However you're engaging with this, do the thing that you do on that platform. We appreciate you. If you want to catch up with us, we are on Instagram at 2BXM Podcast. We're also on TikTok with that same name. And check us out. We have a lot of good dialogue on our Instagram page, and we're recording episodes every week. This has been Survivor's Ed, How to Not Die First in a Horror Movie. Stay safe.